And then, all right. So that in theory is good. We love that. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining us, sorry, I'm just getting all the streams.
Hey, everyone.
Say hi to everybody. Okay. We're live everywhere. I had a call with Riverside.fm today, which is how I record virtual interviews and live stream. And I believe they're going to amp up their live stream services soon. So,
oh, good.
Yay, I love it. They're going to add a lot more. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but regardless.
You already said it.
I said it. It's too late to take it back. So, hi, everybody. I am with Coach Kyle Draper, who I met while we were in Dallas. And I immediately ran to you, I think, after you gave a speech
for
Black Diamond Club because of this amazing book. And because I love meeting people that are in the same industry as I'm in and do what I do.
Yeah.
What's your like short version of like, what does Coach Kyle Draper do? Do you want to tell that to everybody?
So, gosh, I do so many things, average at best, I think. So I own several companies. I travel and speak, and I am now a 2-time author, one of which is a bestseller. And it's not the purple one. So we're kind of working on. Is it the green one?
Is it the green one? Okay.
So, we're working on getting the purple one to get to trend and become a bestseller. But that's, that's basically me. I coach, teach, speak, love on, and encourage people to put themselves out there on social media.
Well, I'm so happy that I have you in my space today because I'm having a huge imposter syndrome day. Okay. And I think it started, let me just fix this really quickly because it's bothering me. I'm not fully centered. I know. I get like hung up on the weirdest things. Let's start that over again in case I edit this later.
Okay.
3, 2. I'm so glad that I got to share space with you today because I got sucked into imposter syndrome really bad today. Okay. And I think it stemmed from like researching you and going down that rabbit hole and looking at all the things that you're doing and that you've accomplished that I haven't been able to do yet. And it really impacted me today.
Wow.
I know. It was bad. It's been like a bad imposter syndrome day.
Well, if you really think about it, there's probably nothing that I've done that you couldn't choose to do right now. You just haven't chosen to do it. Right? Like I used to feel that way when I'd meet people that I like see. Now I know we're not supposed to do this, but like secretly I'd be like, I think I'm better than them. But then like they've written a book and I'm like, well, what the crap? I'm better, but why have they written a book and I haven't written? And then I went, okay, well then just write a book, dummy. And then boom. Now the secret to all this, Rachel, is I'm no different than I was before the book. Right? Like nothing changed. I'm not more or less confident, but I did something I said I wanted to do. And so, I mean, good night. Like in just my time with you, you're way more talented at all this stuff than I am. And so it's just a matter of time before you're like, what was I thinking? I'm way better than Kyle. Why did I ever have a complex about it?
Well, and after this conversation, I want to talk about one of your businesses, which is about content creation, right? I call it batch creating. You call it what? You call it content
compounding.
Compounding. Yeah. And then you started a company where you help people with their content. Explain a little bit about what the company does.
Well, can I, because we're just hanging out riffing on here. Can I give the backstory to like how this even happened?
Oh, 100%. I love the backstory. Please.
So at the end of 2019, so as of right this second, my main industries are real estate and mortgage. And so we're working on branching out, and really we help anybody that needs people to sell something to, but that's been my niche for several years. And so at the end of 2019, I got invited to speak at the National Association of Realtors year event. And so there's tens of thousands of realtors that attend this event. I called it my coming out party. like nobody knew who I was. And then I spoke at NAR, and people were like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? I love him. I need more of him. Well, that happened November of 19. I booked probably a dozen speaking gigs all over the country for 2020. And then this little thing called COVID happened. And all of those events didn't happen. All of the revenue that was supposed to come from those events didn't happen. And so I am sitting there burning through money, and I go, something's got to change. And so for 4 years, I had taught what I called content compounding. And I had stolen it from Gary Vee. Gary Vee's really the first person I saw like talk about content multiplication, right? Like from one video, you can turn it into this and this and this and this. I renamed it content compounding, and I taught it to realtors. And so in May of 2020, a friend of mine called me and said, hey, you know that content compounding thing that you teach in your classes? If I hired a teenager, would you teach them how to do that for me? And Rachel, I started a company 2 days later. And so that's how, like, that's how dumb I am that I taught a concept for 4 years, and it never dawned on me, bro, this could be a company. So we launched it in June of 2020, and we've made it 4 years, right? Next month will be 4 years. And what I'm really passionate about is a lot of people in the video space, they just teach to do short video. And I just think it's robbing people of so much more, because as long as you're only operating in 60-second clips, you're acting, right? Like that's what you're doing. And so I just looked at it and was like, that's not, like, I don't ever look at my shorts and go, that's Kyle. It feels like a fake version of me that's performing. And in my years, so for your audience that doesn't know, like I was a pastor for 10 years. So I'm accustomed to speaking for 30, 40 minutes at a time. And what I've found with longer videos, we say things that we never planned on saying because we've settled into a rhythm where we are the best version of ourselves. And so we get better shorts from clips of longer videos, in my opinion, than by just performing for shorts. So our entire company is based on you record long form content, and then we 4, 3, 2, 1 it. So we edit it for YouTube, but then we create 4 reels from it. We create 3 quote graphics from it. We write 2 email copies from it, and we write 1 blog post from it.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
Our clients get 40 pieces of content a month for an hour or less of their effort.
I love this because I preach it to everybody that comes to me to batch create.
Yeah.
My whole platform is YouTube should be your anchor. Long form needs to be your anchor. Nobody can get to know, like, and trust you in 30 seconds or less.
That's right.
I'm not saying don't do the trending videos. That's fine. Do trending videos, but back it up with personality. Back it up with something of substance. And so for my own brand, what I realized I was getting caught up in, which is why the imposter syndrome, I think, sort of bubbled up, is because I haven't allowed myself the time to create in the way that I've wanted to. I have so many videos. I'm hiring more editors now that will just be for me, because each editor that I hired then was for a client, right? Like, well, then I would get more clients, and then it was like my stuff wasn't getting done. And so I've been preaching like YouTube needs to be your anchor. And then I realized, like, wait, I'm not doing the same things I'm preaching. I'm not doing any of the things I've been teaching anybody.
Right.
And because I couldn't get to editing as quickly as I could, and the person who's going to start for me starts in like a few weeks, I decided, F it. I'm going to do a live a day in May. I'm going to go live, ship it, post it. It's done.
Yeah.
And then after the fact, when everybody starts and I have everybody acclimated to my voice and how to edit, then we can edit these into shorts. I have all the long forms I need. And I think that live streaming is such a tool that is underutilized. And I know people get scared to go live, but like no one's watching right now on my YouTube, the Twitch, and Facebook. Like, do the thing in practice, and you don't
Right.
know what it's going to be like until you do the thing. I think we all get scared, like we're going to fall on our faces, or what if I mess up? Yep, you're going to mess up.
Right.
Yes, you will mess up. Does anybody care? No. And that's what I teach everybody. Nobody cares.
So I think they actually do care, but I think they care in a good way.
Oh, they want to see the mess
Right.
ups.
Like I think when I flub a word, I think it shows people like, oh, he's like me.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to be flawless, right? Like now I'm untouchable and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's such value in almost messing up on purpose. I will coach, like when I'm coaching realtors, right? They do tours of homes. I will coach them fall up the stairs. Now, don't fall down the stairs on purpose. That's harder to judge. But like trip up the stairs on purpose so that when your friends watch it, they're like, there's my ditzy friend, right? That's why I love her so much. But so many people won't do it because they've been convinced if I show up on the internet, it has to be in the absolute best way possible. And I think it does the opposite of what we think it does for the ability to connect.
That happened with me. One of my first clients is a real estate agent. So I totally understand like your ideal client and who you're trying to reach and who is reaching out to you. Because I mean, there's 3 million of them, right? Well, how are you going to stand out amongst the crowd if you're not going to talk about yourself? You all have those fancy like home drone videos and like the fancy like quick reels with the music. You're all doing that. So like if the level playing field is here now, how are you going to rise to the top? Yeah. Right. So like, don't stop doing those things, but how else are you going to add to that? Right. And one of the videos I had taken of her, she had a hole in her sweater and we were having a meeting with her team because I would go get behind the scenes stuff, like do quick cuts, all that stuff. And I had gotten a video of her with her hole in her sweater. And she goes, listen, telling her team, like, we're not perfect, right? Like things happen, but I have a hole in my sweater, but I'm still here selling houses. And I thought it was such an amazing thing to show that realness. And she wouldn't let me post it because it was too real. And I was like, then you're not going to attract the audience that you're trying to attract. And it just made me feel like it's okay to mess up. It's okay to show people I have a hole in my sweater and I'm still here selling your houses, right? I'm still here selling or trying to find your dream home. And so I totally get trying to package yourself in this perfect way, but there's something so beautiful about our mistakes and about our imperfections.
Yeah. But to get there, like for your client, we have to totally reshift the mindset they have or rethink, I guess, to stay in brand to my book. What we're doing on social, most business people wouldn't pay any attention to social if it wasn't for their business. So we see Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Snapchat, like they're all business tools. Therefore, we have to show up business all the time. And what you and I think have done at a high level and are helping people figure out is, whoa, bro, you're a human being before you're a realtor. You're a human being before you're a chiropractor. And so if you can't figure out how to be relatable to people and be social here, no one's going to show up only when you want to give a business lesson. They want to relate to you based on your fashion sense. They want to relate to you based on your season of life, whether you have kids or you're both married, or you both love dogs or cats or whatever. And so you have to get in a brand new mindset to be willing to put that out there. Otherwise, you'll be like your client and be like, oh my gosh, no way. We can't talk about a whole, and that's even so basic.
I know.
Right? Like that's not even like we're just scratching the surface of like humility and like a willingness to connect with a hole in a sweater. When I've got people over here that we're like, man, we're like, I've got, a friend that's like a 10-year veteran of divorce. And so we're creating content that's about them, like helping people like not get divorced and talking through stories that like truly dealt with pain. But it's a process.
It's a process. And I think a lot of times when we tell people, like I help people tell their stories, I help entrepreneurs, business owners tell their stories. And I think people think like storytelling is from ego, and it's not. It's really not about you. It's about the person that's going to hear that story and is going to be absolved or helped or maybe learn something from that story. Your story is not for you. It's for your community that you're trying to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. But the reality is like, you can give me an incredible idea, but if I take my ego into it, then it won't be executed well. And so I think it just comes down to like, why am I doing this? Because I have, and I'm sure you do too, I've had videos in the past that were all about me. And as I've gotten older and more mature, I've been able to go, like that angle isn't good. Is there an angle that makes it about helping others? And so it's interesting how the same story can be arrogant and egotistical, and it can also be completely selfless and serving. But it's all about how I show up to it.
That's what I'm trying to merge now is how can I be of service? How can I give you value? I have so many stories in my head, so it is going to come from a semi-personal space, but also about what I learned, about production, about editing, about all of these things that I've learned in 20 plus years of being in media.
Right.
It's going to happen through also telling my personal story. And in doing so, you'll learn about all the things that I'm doing now. That's sort of the goal.
Think about if the title of one of my videos is, let me tell you about the last time I got fired. Right. And like on the surface, it's like, oh my gosh, why would you air your own dirty laundry? But if I believe that I learned from that experience and I'm better because of that experience, why would I not want that story out there so people could see the integrity and character that I have, the humility that I have to put something like that out there. But again, if you're all about business, that just will never make sense.
What is so funny is because I have a radio background, I was a character on a radio show. So like giving of myself and showing my mistakes has never been an issue. Yeah. It's now that it's flip-flopped to a business that I'm choosing to grow. Not necessarily exponentially as you have with yours. I still want to kind of stay boutique, but it's almost like every day I find an excuse not to focus on my business because it scares me so much. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I don't know.
What is it that scares you?
I think that I've been working on my definition of success, and I've also been working on my relationship with money. My relationship with money isn't a healthy relationship, if that makes sense. Okay. In so much as I've always had amazing opportunities, right? I've never had my own business that I've had to grow and then therefore pay other people that are helping me to grow the business. Yeah. So I'm having a really rough time with what I tell all my clients, which is so funny. I always say you have to invest in yourself. It's going to hurt before it gets better, right? Yep. There's not going to be a return on investment in this space. Not in 6 months, maybe not even in a year. If you're showing up consistently, I'm going to do the best that I can for you. Like we'll do all the things, right? The SEO, the hashtags, the tags, the descriptions, using the keywords. We'll do all the things, but I can't guarantee that someone's business is going to grow in the way that they hoped by doing social media and YouTube and creating videos.
Right.
And so what's so funny is I'm going through the same thing that I tell my clients you're going to go through. I'm in that, like those growing pains as a business and realizing like it's going to take money to make money. And I have to really believe in what I'm doing. And I do. It's just like today was one of those days, man, where I was like, fuck, why am I doing this?
I think I have one of those days every week.
Okay.
Right? Because, well, the danger with comparison is for every one person I can find that I'm better than, I'm going to go find another dozen that I'm not.
That was today. I was like, why am I doing this?
Because like at the peak of my company, and we've actually shrunk some since then because again, the industry I'm in, when it's bad, well, we struggle too, right? Because we serve the industry. And but at the peak, like my payroll was over 20 grand a month.
Oh God.
And when I was a youth pastor, I was making like 4 grand a month. And so I remember looking at my wife one day going, honey, my payroll is 5 times more than I used to make a month. How did this happen? And then last week I was in Seattle with one of my business partners, and he was telling me about how last year his payroll was $100,000 a month. And I'm just like, oof, that's a way bigger burden than I was feeling at 20. And so there's always people that are finding greater success than me, but there's also always people that are carrying a bigger burden than me. And so I don't think, like Rachel, I don't think if somebody were to give the advice of like, just keep going, it'll get easier. I just don't think it gets easier. I think that's why our desire to want to serve people has to be so great that I'm always willing to overcome my own shortcomings to keep loving people. Right. And I think that's the only answer. And so, I hate that like I had something to do with your shortcoming today.
It's not. No,
because if you lived in my head, you'd be like, holy crap, Kyle's way more effed up than me. But on the surface, I figured out how to make it, like I'm a duck. Like I look very majestic on the water, but underneath the water, my feet are like, no, gosh, we're about to go bankrupt. Oh no, what's happening? And it's just hard. There's a reason why 90% of our country work for the 10% of people that own businesses, because entrepreneurship freaking sucks.
This is so much harder than I ever thought it would be.
It's so hard. And your employees will never understand, right? They'll always keep asking for more, and they should, right? Like it's not their job to like be beggars and be broke. But until you've been one, it's just like I can't tell my wife, like on her hard day as a mom, I can't go, honey, I understand. Because I don't. I'm a dad. We have the easiest job on the planet compared to what moms do. And so it like watching my wife be a mom is both the most beautiful thing in the world and the most brutal thing in the world. And it doesn't make it not worth it, even on those bad days. And so, while you're, crying and having a rough moment, the bottom line is this: are you going to quit?
No.
Right? So we're going to suck it up, and we're going to have bad moments, and we're going to believe that these bad moments are going to result in incredible breakthroughs for the people we get to serve. And it's brutal. That was we use that language in our church, is talking about how like there's things that are beautiful and brutal. And so it's brutal. Like being a business owner is brutal. It's amazing, but it probably actually sucks more days than it's amazing.
And I think that not enough people talk about it. So I'm thankful to you for being honest with me about it.
Yeah.
I know the goalposts will always move. It will never be enough. I know that it's a 24-hour-a-day job. I get it. And I think that like God, the universe, source, whatever, gives me these moments.
Yeah.
So that I can say like, but I'm not giving up. But yes, today was hard, but I'm still going to do this tomorrow. Yeah. And I truly believe like that's why I have these moments. It's just,
Well, and let's pull the curtain back even further. So, at the end of 2022, we had, I think, just under 60 clients in content compounding. We're doing really good revenue. Like it was very profitable, and then when the housing industry did what it's done. Like now, as of today, we have 18 clients. So I mean, we've gone back way more than I would have ever liked. And I think our profit margin, like our profits last month were like $1,200.
Oh God.
Right. So now it sucks, but in our slowing down, we've been able to kind of pivot our clientele, which would have been harder when we were bigger. We've changed some of our offerings, which would have been harder when we were bigger. And then we've moved some people into different seats on the bus. None of those things are possible if we were to have still been at the size we were. And so now I truly believe we have the ability to scale much bigger, but it needed that slowdown for me to even get into that headspace. And so as much as it sucked from a revenue perspective, there's been unbelievable things that have come from it. And the cool part about like mindset is that like we get to choose what part of the truth we focus on. And then how we spin that truth to ourselves. And so tons of people can be like, woe is me. I'm the worst. I suck. Or I can choose to say, was that the greatest season of my life? No, but we're positioned for this one to be really great and better. And even if that's not true a year from now, that doesn't mean I'm going to believe it any less today. So.
I feel that, and thank you for that. Last month I paid out freelancers more than I made, but I was happily paying them because I was like, I know this is how we grow together. It's like it didn't matter to me because I knew like if this is the beginning, take it. I love your work. Let's keep working together. And it didn't bother me. I just know that like I had to get a lawyer because now we have contracts. Now we have to like do things the right way, right? And so it's like scary like going into that savings account and telling your husband like I need it because we have to grow. I have no other choice. It's so scary. So I'm happy that you said that every day is not going to be perfect. Because it's just not like today's just one of those days where if you asked me earlier, I would have been like, no, I just want to be a housewife. Go tell my husband to make enough money to cover everything. I just want to stay home.
It's so hard. I mean, we, in the last year and a half, like I probably put 150 grand of our own money, like in the company to just pay the salaries of all the people that work for me. You know, and like they don't tell you that when you sign up to own a company that, hey, you get one of two choices. Like you fire everybody and now you're putting them on the street, or you eat less so that you can pay them. It's scary. And again, my team, they don't even know that. I guess if they watch this, then they will. So surprise, you know.
Nobody's watching apparently, so don't worry about it.
But they have no idea, right? They just know that they're getting paid, and they don't understand the sacrifice that I'm making for that to be possible. But it's what we do when we say yes to entrepreneurship, and then we just hope it gets better.
And that's where I'm at. I feel like. And I truly believe that it will too. And I have to look at those imposter syndrome moments as exactly what you said, but I can do this too. But I can do this too. And I'm doing it in my own way. And that's what I tell clients too. It's like, whether it's real estate agents, whether it's people who own a spa, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Yes, there's thousands to millions of people doing the thing. But what makes it different is that you're the one doing it. Right. And that's why we have to do the personality videos. And that's why we should do the long form, because people can't get to know, like, and trust you if they don't know who you are from a 7-second trending sound.
Right. And Rachel, my final piece of advice on the imposter syndrome stuff is when you find yourself in that funk, whatever sentence or statement you make about you, add the word yet to it. So if you looked at me and were like, well, I'm not an author yet, right? Like, so we can say those things, but that one word adds a little bit of a spin of positivity to it, because if we're not careful, like, we make such definitive statements about ourselves that are nails in the coffin, when the reality is I just haven't made it on a TV show yet. I haven't made it on Ed Milet's podcast yet. Right? Like, it's not that I'll never make it there. I just haven't made it yet. And it's wild for me how those 3 letters can so profoundly shift my mindset, because it keeps me in the vision of it will happen. It's just in, right, like you called it, the universe, right? I'm gonna call it God's timing, and I believe it's gonna happen. Gary Vee is gonna want me on a video with him.
Hell
it just
yes.
hasn't happened yet.
I love that shift. So I appreciate that. I'm going to add those 3 little letters to everything I say now. When I quit radio to focus on this little business, it actually took me a while. It took me a few years to flip that negative mindset, because it was so negative that I had to reprogram my brain and retrain myself to think differently about myself first before I could help anybody else.
Yeah.
And that work took way longer than I anticipated it to. So I think that, like, in my head, if I had started this business when I quit radio to begin with, or when I left radio for another opportunity, I would be so much further along. And then the new thing I had to remind myself is I'm not on a timeline. I'm not on your timeline. You're not on my timeline.
Yep.
Right? The goalposts will always shift. I have to do it in the time that I'm allowing myself to do it.
Right.
And I have to be okay with that.
But isn't that what I love about social media right now is Oprah could see my next video and my life will literally alter overnight. Right? That's real life, right? Somebody could show Gary Vee my next video. Like, 20 years ago, it was easy to go, wouldn't it be cool if, like, Oprah picked my book for book club? But, like, that wasn't real life, because we didn't have access to people like we do now. But it's absolutely true right now that we've never watched more millionaires happen because of the power of the internet than we're seeing right now. And all those people's story is nobody noticed until they did. Nobody cared until they did. And so there is always that chance, which is the hope that I love to have, because I truly believe, like, Oprah's going to know who I am one day.
I live in that delulu, like that delusional space. I live in that all the time because I've seen it happen.
Right.
But if we're not consistently showing up and we're not doing the work, right, then it can't happen. And so I had to have that come to Jesus meeting with myself, where it's like, okay, I'm taking all of my time up with my clients. I can't edit all my own stuff the way that I wanted to. Right. There's only 24 hours in a day, which as an entrepreneur, goes so fast. You just you turn your head and you're like, wait, what? It's the end of the day. We're done. And so I've really tried to just have that moment of, like, do you really want to do this? Because if you do, it is only going to get harder.
Yeah.
And so I'm in that space. I'm happy to keep growing. And now it's time to start showing up consistently with the content, which I haven't been able to do. But I'm, like I told my husband, I have to hire an editor just for myself, for my stuff. And also block out time to do it, because I kept saying yes to clients, right? Because we want the money.
Right.
And
are all your editors stateside?
Yes, which is the other conversation I do want to have with you off live.
Yeah,
because we have that conversation.
And again, right, I'm not trying to take jobs away from anybody, because I don't know if we talked about it, but when I started my company, my hope was to help stay-at-home moms make some extra money, and so stay-at-home moms were my first editors, and it was awful. Like, my heart was in the right place, but they just weren't good enough. And so I moved some of those moms into different roles in my company, which several of them still work for the company. But we had to pivot because that wasn't sustainable, and the profit margin wasn't where it needed to be. it changes the game when I know that I've got people on the other side of the globe that I can just record a video to and shoot it over, and then like the magic starts to happen and I don't have to do anything. And so, I think at some point you're going to have to adopt both. I don't think you've got to like get rid of but like maybe your personal editor is a VA, right? So, but that's
the road I'm leading down. So I'm teaching these freelance editors stateside how to think like I do. Does that make sense? So that eventually they would be the leads on outsourcing the edits, so that it's not all coming to me. Like, would Rachel like this for the client or for myself? That they could say, okay, Rachel wouldn't like this, go change this. Does that make sense? And then it comes to me for final edits, for final review. Because I'm building out my own YouTube channel. I'm building out 2 clients' YouTube channels. YouTube edits are not easy, and they are very expensive. So when you're doing the flashy YouTube, changing something every 4 seconds, every 4 frames, do you know what I'm saying? Like those, like Mr. Beast edits are not cheap.
Right. Yep.
So I'm not going to be anywhere near Mr. Beast edits, but long form costs more money. However, when you do it in this way, like we're doing now, live stream, it saves to your YouTube. You take that YouTube URL and then you outsource editing the short version, and then have someone else cleaning up, right? You put your intro, you put your outro, whatever sponsorships, have them write the description, and it's done for you.
Well, and we also have to remember, and I think we can kind of screw our people over. And again, we're not doing it on purpose, but like you just mentioned a Mr. Beast edit in a conversation that you and I are having as normal people.
Right.
And like, I've read articles about like Mr. Beast has spent over $1 million just testing the thumbnails of the video.
Yes.
Right. So I think we have to be careful too, to go like, what is minimum viable, right? Like where is my client coming to me, and where can I elevate them to at first without breaking the bank, so like right now, like inside of content compounding, it costs me $7 to have a full YouTube video edited.
Holy shit.
Like that's that. And it's an
holy
hour.
Shit.
It's an hour-long edit. And now I'm not going to go, it's pretty close to Mr. Beast. It's not close to Mr. Beast. It cost me $7.
They clean it up for you, basically, right? They make it.
I mean, it's a full edit,
Oh
right?
my God.
But it's not a Mr. Beast edit.
Okay.
But it has Mr. Beast qualities. Mm-hmm. And again, before my edit, my client did nothing. So to try to convince somebody like, hey, let's go from 0 YouTube presence to Mr. Beast presence. Mm-hmm. Like that's not even a fair assessment. And it's also not even possible, because there's a reason why there's one Mr. Beast.
Exactly.
Right. And so, my team, we just had this conversation a couple of days ago, because we just started doing a really cool edit on shorts. But when we looked at the numbers, that one short was costing us $42 just to pay our VA. And so we looked up and we're like, guys, if we times this by 16, which is how many short videos our client would get over the course of that month, our profit margin is like $8. Like we can't do a business this way. So I had to lead my team and say, what can we do? And then what do we need to give up, but still do really good quality work? Because again, like we've got to understand where people are. And so that's a huge piece to this, because we got to have enough humility to say, are we capable of more? Yes. But at the detriment to what?
Yep. I'm at that space with my content that I'm trying to get it to the vision in my head.
Sure.
Instead of just getting it out. Like,
and I'm the opposite of you. My team's like, bro, we need to do better edits. And I'm like, I don't care. I just want it out there.
Yeah. I need to get better at just shipping it. Like just do the thing. It's done. It's out there. That's why I challenged myself this month to do live a day in May, because I can't change it. It's there. It's saved. It is what it is. Yes. Can I repackage this and put it out? Yes. Is that the goal? Absolutely. But I really wanted to show people the behind the scenes. I've been taping myself with clients behind the scenes for years now. I have so much footage of behind the scenes because I was like, okay, how can I close that gap of, instead of taking what I taught this client today to a podcast episode that I'm going to sit and do all the things with and then have to plan out and then take more time to wait for it to be edited, right? And like polished up. Or can I just record us doing the thing and just use that? And so that's what I've been moving towards now, is I just let them know, hey, when you sign on with me, part of this is I show behind the scenes of us working together. Are you okay with that? And it's for my platform because it's just easier for me to say, like, okay, this is how we solve this problem, literally by doing the thing and showing you behind the scenes, as opposed to, oh, this was a great topic, let me go write that down and like batch create it later when I'm never going to get it out. I mean, the sheer volume, and I know so many clients have this issue, so many people who aren't clients that have this issue. How many videos are on your camera roll that you just didn't do? You didn't edit, right? You were like, oh, I don't know how to use CapCut, or, oh, I don't like, using the Instagram app. I don't, whatever it is, whatever the excuse is, right? Or we don't have time.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that excuse. I'm tired of making that excuse because I know there's answers. Again, it may not be the edit that I would have done myself.
Right.
I have to be okay with that. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah. I also love saying that my crappy video will outperform the video you never do every time.
Every time. You're 100% right. 100%.
And so many, like when I'm traveling and speaking, so many of the questions about like, well, how long should it be? And what app do you use? Those questions typically come from people that are doing nothing. And it's like, why are you asking that question? You're not doing anything.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how long the video is. Go post a video and then let's have a conversation.
I will, even during batch creation sessions, I will hand them the phone and I'll say, just do a walk and talk. And they'll be like, what do you mean a walk and talk? And I'm like, whatever the first thing is that comes to your mind, walk down the street. I'm going to go over there and then walk back to me. Don't worry about length of time. Don't worry about what you're saying. Don't worry about messing up. Do a walk and talk. And they come up with the greatest stuff because I think it's just giving them the freedom to like not have to overthink the content, right? Because when you're an expert in what you do, like you and I are, like we can talk about this for hours. I don't have to think about it. Give me a topic and we can go off about it. And so I think with clients, they don't realize like I'm an expert in this. And until I challenge them, just do a walk and talk. Just walk and talk. It's okay. They don't realize, wow, I really do know this stuff. Oh, I really can do this. So I love that, like thinking outside the box when it comes to content.
I think I love that you called it a walk and talk. I don't know if I've heard anybody call it that before. And what I like, somebody told me the other day, they're like, man, you're so good at videos when you walk and talk. And I was like, that's a weird compliment. But I think what it does is like, again, you and I do this all the time, but for a normal person sitting in an environment where my lighting is great and my background is cool and I have the best audio, like for you and I, we love this because we're nerds about this stuff. But to a regular person that just runs a business or is in sales, this makes it way worse, right? It puts way more pressure. But if I say, hey, bro, just go walk down that street and talk about something, I think because their brain now has to focus on walking, it's positioned them to feel more natural and they're going to create better content.
100%.
So we have to know as coaches, like, how do we put our people in the position to win? And the other day I was recording a hype video for a big webinar that'll have like 2,000 people on it. And I was like, oh, shoot, like this video needs to be really good because they're going to send this out to like 50,000 people. And I recorded a couple times in my studio, in my office. Was like, that sucks. I walk outside. I start recording the video. The trash truck turns on my street. And so in my head, I'm like, son of a, like, this is going really well. And so video, I'm like, you know where some of your ideas need to go? In that trash truck. right back there. And it made for a brilliant moment that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't put myself in a more casual environment and then been okay with what we would say is a less professional video. And I sent the company both versions, and of course they picked the walking down the street trash truck version.
I love that.
We overthink all this stuff so bad.
Exactly. And yes, should we figure out who our ideal customer is? Sure. Should we know what our why is? Yes. But when it comes to finally shooting the content, we have to trust that we are the experts in our thing, right? Like what is my unicorn quality? What makes me different, especially with the real estate agents? What makes you different? Talk about that.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely love that. Like, just love getting people out of their head. And when you throw them the phone and you just say, go walk and talk, just do it now. Because people are scared of me sometimes, I think. They just want to do what I tell them to do.
Sure.
They're not overthinking it either.
Yeah.
They're doing the thing that I told them to do. And I 100% agree. I think it's because your mind is worried about walking and not falling. Your brain can just free flow and you get the greatest content from a walk and talk. It's so good.
Because if you and I were walking together, you know, you wouldn't be like, hey, Kyle, don't talk to me right now. It's too hard for me to focus and I'm going to fall. No, like we're going to just both walk like normal humans and have a conversation. And that's the way we want it to feel anyway. Like early on, like I wanted people to be impressed by me. But now, like as I've gotten older, I just want people to go, man, I love that you're the same Kyle on your videos as now you are in real life. Like when I meet you at an event, I don't want you to go, oh, the online version of you is better. I want you to think we're the same. That's a win for me.
I absolutely love that. And the other advice I give is if you are going to promote something, right? So like say you have a script in your head of something that you're promoting or something specific, I will tell them, just pretend like you're FaceTiming me. You're just talking to me. And like, imagine calling me up and be like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing that ever happened. Or like, this is what's happening. How would you tell me? Or your best friend, or have somebody in mind that you're talking to when you turn that camera on and you press record. And that works as well. It sort of gets them out of their head of what it is they want to say and into just doing the thing, giving the information, give the value. And so I love that I've been able to help people with that as well. So in this social media world with, I think, a lot of people moving to entrepreneurship, right, and trying to own their own businesses, what advice would you give to somebody? They've created their LLC, they have their EIN, they're so excited, they have their ads on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all the places, and they're starting at zero. What advice would you give to somebody who's just now pivoting to entrepreneurship and starting with nothing?
It's a great question. I would do two things, and I'm sure there's a million that other people could say they should do. The first thing I would do is I would, as fast as possible, try to get to 20 videos, and I'd post all of them at the same time. Like, and even though somebody's gonna be like, well, like, what about, like, I need a YouTube channel that just has 20 videos on it, so that when somebody goes there, they're like, oh, cool, Kyle's legit. He has 20 videos. Right, on Instagram, nobody's going to probably scroll further back than 6 or 8, lines. And so if I've got 20 videos there, then I look legit. I look the part. And even if my followers are low, people are going to go, oh, but like he's doing good content. And so I think like that's just minimum viable. Also, you'll get in a rhythm faster. If you say, well, like, I really loved y'all's episode, I'm going to start doing a video a week. It's going to take you 20 weeks to do 20 videos. And that's not going to create consistency. That doesn't create muscle memory. That doesn't create habit. If I go to the gym once a week for 20 weeks, nobody's going to go, that's good, dude. That's smart. Yeah. Don't want to overdo it. No, they're going to say, bro, you got to get in there at least 3 or 4 days a week to create consistency. And so that would be the first thing. The second thing, Rachel, would be start leveraging one-to-one video. That's become my favorite thing to coach, because nobody's afraid of one-to-one video, because our greatest fear is judgment. Our greatest fear is saying something, wrong publicly. Well, none of that exists if I'm texting you a video, but I'm still working those muscles. And so I have clients that I'll encourage them to do 30 straight days of private one-to-one video. And it's unbelievable how on day 31, they're like, wow, I'm more comfortable to do a reel. Well, duh, you just did video 30 days in a row. Of course you're more comfortable. You're more confident. You've looked at your face more. You've heard yourself talk more. Like all those fears that we don't know how to say, we've minimized all of them by simply practicing in private. And so that, like, those would be, as the video guy, those number 3 would be to buy my book, right? That would be my third one. Rethink everything you know about social media. Because my belief is this, like, a business that knows how to be in front of people is going to win more often than the business that's not. And so if you can tackle that from the onset, you're going to get more opportunity because of the freedom that comes with getting in front of the camera from anywhere at any time. So that's what I would do first.
I love that. I just need to take a deep breath because I feel like I'm in that space where the followers that I had were all from radio. So they know a different version of me. Does that make sense? Yeah. They don't know this version of me. So I feel like this version of me is starting at 0. And I understand like how scary that can be. But like you said, unless we start showing up, unless we start doing the thing, we don't know. We don't know. And so, yes, are there companies like yours and mine that can help people? 100%. But are there easy ways of just doing the thing and posting it, not worrying about a cover photo and not worrying about how beautiful it looks, and not worry about curating, colors on your Instagram feed so that it looks beautiful? You don't have to do that yet. You just have to show up.
Rachel, I have over 400 videos on my YouTube channel, and I don't optimize any of it. Like, I probably should by now. But like, my opinion of it is I'm in front of people all the time. So I don't really need new people. I just need to not look stupid when people go look me up. And so when you go to my YouTube channel and you go, holy crap, look at how many videos this dude's done. That's a good thing, right? Whether one of them is popped off for 100,000 views or not, who cares, right? I think we concern ourselves with the wrong metrics. And so you should be so much more focused on volume right now than the quality. And then you can pivot as you go. But the reality is like, how do you hit more home runs? By getting more at bats.
I love that.
I just want more at bats.
I think that a lot of people do need to utilize, if you're having imposter syndrome, if you think I can't do it, if you think I can't be as good as Kyle is, go to your favorite YouTuber's platform and click oldest. Click videos and click oldest.
Yep.
And that will literally change your whole view.
Oh my gosh.
I think. Because when you go look at that person's oldest video of when they started, I watched yours and it made me feel so good because I was just like, oh my God, like but you're doing a thing, you were showing up for yourself, right? And so it made me feel really good. I do it all the time because I'm like, I had a client who had seen somebody in real estate who was amazing at his content. And he's like, that's what I want. And I was like, you have 0 videos right now. I said, click on that guy's oldest video. And he did. And he was like shocked. And I was like, that's where you need to start. That's where we're starting. You are not there yet. He's been doing this for 10 years. You are not there.
Do you know Sean Cannell?
I've heard of him.
So he and I were actually both pastors. Like when we met, he hadn't become like Think Media, which now he's grown like multiple million, subscriber channels.
And Think is huge. It's a great channel. It's amazing.
And if you go look at like the content they're creating, like we suck. like I'm the worst compared to what they're doing. Yes. But he'll show his very first video, and my first video was better than his first video. And so we always have to make sure that like we're comparing apples to apples. And even like for me, right? People always say like, man, you're so good on video. You're so well spoken. And I'm like, I was a pastor for 10 years that spoke hundreds, if not 1,000 times before I ever did a video. You've never spoken in front of people. So what, like, why in the world, like, go be a pastor for 10 years if you want to actually compare yourself to me, because otherwise you're not giving yourself a fair shake if that's what the comparison is.
Yeah, I try to explain that to people that I was in radio for over 15 years. I was speaking to millions of people constantly.
Yeah.
So yes, it took time to get used to that. So yeah, it's easy for me to just speak to people. I totally agree with that. And that's why I tell people the magic's in the edits. If you aren't comfortable doing this live and just being yourself, there's magic's in the edits. We can just do the line again. My clients will tell you their least favorite line from me is, "That's great, do it again." That's great, do it again. Because by the third time, they finally believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I literally have an edit I haven't put out yet because, why would I? It's just me saying, okay, great, do it again, do it again, do it again. Because the magic's in the edits, you guys. If you're self-taping and you're not hiring people to help you, it's so easy. Just say the line again. And usually by the third time, you believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
Especially if it's coming from an authentic place. You don't have to be perfect. Like Kyle said, basically, right? We talked about done beats perfect every time. Do the thing. Do the thing.
Do the thing. 100%.
All right. I'm going to wrap this up because I want to talk to you quickly off live.
Okay. Sure.
Do you have final words of advice for me? Not that I want to make this about me, but I feel like people can learn from what I'm going through now. For the love of God, I cried for 10 minutes with you. So
I love that, by the way. Thank you for trusting me.
I was so happy it was with you. Like, part of me was like, do I just cancel? And the other part of me was like, no, just be my genuine, authentic self. If anybody could understand, it's you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're a pastor. So I was like, maybe he'll bring a little bit of Jesus into my life today.
Oh, I love bringing Jesus into people's lives. Rachel, here's the advice I would give you is be intentional about finding the balance of like what you hardcore believe in, but also what you're willing to change. Because early on in my content compounding company, right, I was like, but I'm using stay-at-home moms and like, that's the vision and that's how we're doing it. And so when my friend was like, but what about this? I'm like, no, because that's not how I do it. And if I wouldn't have been willing to change, my family would live in a cardboard box on an overpass somewhere. And I think too many people just stay completely bought in to like, but this is how we've always done it. And you run yourself into the ground. And like, I guess you could be really proud of like not coming off of your beliefs but like, at what expense is it worth being right? And so the faster I pivot, the better things go, the healthier my company becomes. And ultimately the more money I make, which when I'm making a lot of money, everyone is winning. If I'm broke, everyone is only winning for a limited amount of time. And then we're all losing. And so that would be my advice is just, be aware of what you're, standing on your high horse for, but be very quick to go, that was wrong. Let's change.
I love that. If people want more information, KyleDraper.com, right? Yep. The book is available on Amazon. It's also, I think it's on your website too, but you have so much value on your website. Go to KyleDraper.com if you want more information. Here's his book. It's absolutely amazing. I actually bought it with my money because I wanted to support you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, it means a lot. I know what that's like when sometimes you feel like you're screaming into the void, right?
Oh gosh, yes.
I mean, I've got how many followers on Instagram? Like I think 13,000, which for me is a lot.
You have more followers than me. So what are you feeling bad about yourself for?
Because they don't support, they don't interact, they don't engage, and they don't convert. And so it's like, then do I really have followers? Am I really building a community? And are those my people? And those are the things I have to really figure out and ask myself. Yeah. Do I start from scratch at zero and say, well, this is who I am now? I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe we'll talk about that offline.
I know. All right, everybody. If you're watching this live, Kyle, you stay there. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for everybody who was watching this. If you're watching this live, no one's watching it live, which actually is, by the way, so I love it because I can just do the thing and not feel like, oh my God, I have all these people watching. When no one's watching, I can just be myself and post it.
Well, and isn't that, before we end this, isn't it interesting that like everybody wants more followers, but then when I say, but your content sucks, what would you do with more followers? You would just burn through people that are like, ew, unfollowing her, you know? So like maybe there's a little bit of upside into building something in the dark, because we can make mistakes and we're not as fearful of them because nobody's there to, you know, point fingers and laugh at us. And so I'm thankful for the shadows sometimes.
That just, wow. Building something in the dark is like, that was amazing because that's how I feel, but I'm loving it. Loving every second of nobody watching this.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I'm just like, whatever. I can make mistakes. All right, stay there. Don't move. I'm going to stop this recording.